Let's face it, business technology is frustrating and complex. So how do you make sure it works for your team? To make IT right, start the discussion at go-domain.com. You're listening to Discussions by Domain, a podcast for business leaders. Our discussions may be with people you've probably heard of before, but the majority of our guests are in the trenches, professionals like you and I, with the same challenges and struggles of keeping up in the Northeast. They're implementing strategies, overcoming hurdles. They're leading the fastest growing businesses in our region. My name is Anthony DeGraw, Director of Partnerships at Domain Computer Services, and the host of this show. When I'm not talking with business leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of Domain and the ups and downs of our own growth journey, as we intend to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show. Welcome to part 3 of this Discussions by Domain mini-series with Mr. Kevin Vitale himself. He has recently joined the sales and marketing team at Domain, and we're excited to have him. You've heard the first 2 parts. If you haven't, go back and listen. Part 1 was about sales and marketing strategy and messaging for your company. Part 2 was about cybersecurity and industry roadblocks, which I think people are going to get a lot of value out of. And today, part 3, we're talking about company culture. Yeah. So I'm going to switch the script, and Kevin's going to interview me for part 3 here.
Yeah, no, this is my favorite thing to talk about. And you know, just in terms of you, I think this is a really, really strong suit of yours. And I think this takes it beyond what you actually do here. This
I appreciate
takes it to the next
that.
step. So it's a good thing for us to talk about. But I think the first question I have for you is internally, how you communicate with people in the company. How does that kind of translate into the customer service experience that they're giving? Because there's a clear connection there.
Yeah, I think we've all dealt with this too. We've called up JCP&L or we've called up any type of provider, right? And you just get this completely negative experience. And you know, now with social media, you hear about it immediately, right? United Airlines or whatever the case may be. So the way I approach it is, and it's part of my personality. So I know obviously doesn't have the personalities that we have and doesn't have the same mindset, and that's okay. I think you can do that. You can do this individually in your own way. You don't have to do it exactly how we do it. But my goal is we work a lot for a living. We're here more than we are with our own families, and it's a toll. It takes a lot out of you. But my thing is, like, when I'm here, I want to have a good experience. I'm spending a ton of time here, right? And I'm trying to develop relationships with everybody internally. So that's, I guess, step 1 is I want to develop relationships, true relationships. I want to get to know you and who you are. Like an intern and a 10-year veteran have 2 completely different experiences, and I communicate to them 2 completely different ways. But the end goal is always the same. Who are you? What's important to you? Not only here in your professional life, but also externally in your personal life. And I'm going to try and do whatever I can do to help you grow, especially in the professional life, what I can actually affect. But in your personal life too, like, I want to make sure things are going good. And if I can give you some advice or help you there, if you want it, I'm going to help provide you that. But at minimum, I want you to come in every day and know that Anthony is going to have a smile on his face, and he's going to give you something or try to give you something to laugh about today, to frame your day. And to your point, like, I think that only goes so far that they are then able to translate that over to the customers that they happen to talk to that day, or even just the people on the street that they happen to meet when they're at lunch. They, maybe they hold the door, they smile or whatnot, but that's my goal. My goal is that hopefully with that smile that they can rely on, that fun joke or whatever it may be, me making fun of myself, that they can then take that and implement that, whether it be with a customer or just out when they're getting lunch, or when they walk back in the door with their family or friends, and that translates there as well.
Right. No, I think that's how you keep a solid pulse of kind of an organization and people, and that's at the end of the day, this is a people business, just like every other one. Yeah. So I think that's super important. Is this something that you do intentionally? Is this like an intentional act, or is this kind of just your personality?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And like when I first thought about that question, I thought about it as this is completely unintentional and this is my personality. Mm-hmm. But then when I thought about it a little bit more and sat on this topic, I do think there's part of me that does this intentionally. And the reason I say that is because there will be times when I'm having a rough morning or something happened or whatever the night before. But I come in knowing that can't affect the people I work with every single day. Mm-hmm. And there's this switch that as I pull in that garage out there and plug in the car, right? There's this switch that goes off in my mind is like, that you got to leave that behind and you got to set the intention that I want the office to know me as. Mm-hmm. And I think I've talked to you about this behind doors, but I don't want anybody ever to know what's going on negatively in my life. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to complain. I'm not here to do that for you. I want to be that person that I just described previously. Yeah. And I want people to be able, like me, to be that rock for those people. So the more I thought about this question, the more I thought, a lot of it's unintentional, but then there are parts of it that are intentional, and you got to be able to flip that switch, especially as a leader, I think. You got to be able to flip that switch and provide those individuals with that experience and allow them to know that that's what you're going to be for them.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. How do you then take that message and tell them how to do it? Because that's the key, right? It's not just that you have a few people in the office that could go around and make people laugh and boost morale, but how do you explain to them how important it is to do that to other people?
Yeah, hopefully they listen to this podcast episode and they see what I just said. I think that takes time. You're right. Like, I think that from them seeing it day in and day out for months or now years at a time, I hope they are like, that's kind of like, I want to do that. I want to put on that personality. Another thing is I think they see, talking about like the actions, they see then how my communication, both internally and externally, what the results of that communication are. Mm-hmm. And then that just kind of like, I don't have to do so much telling them. Mm-hmm. It's more that my actions speak for it and the results then speak for it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a combination of both. And I think it's, you also do have to tell them about it. Like, hey, we do, and you relate it back to their own experiences. How was your last experience with United Airlines or something like that? And they kind of like, it comes full circle a little bit. And then you give them the tips and tricks that they can use, even if they're not having a great day, on how to keep people happy, interested in them. But I think it's the results really at the end of the day that speak volumes over time. Mm-hmm.
No, that makes a lot of sense too. I see kind of you are a good brand ambassador for a domain, of course. So how are you gonna take that and kind of teach other people how to do that? Because it's something you kind of have to be everywhere all the time, talking to everybody. Yeah. So how do you implement that? How do you scale it? Because as we grow, you need to scale and all this.
Yeah. So we've talked internally about how do we get employees, to buy in and share more of our stuff and get the word out bigger and bigger. And I've told you, I think there's the people within the organization that are just naturally gonna be a fit and find that's the way they will also want to communicate about their professional life. In today's world, crossing the line between personal and business is one thing. And for me, at least, and I know for you too, these lines are getting completely blurred. And it was not until about a year ago where I just looked at marketing internally and was like, I'm just going to be this, this open book. Like, I'm going to stop. There is no like line in the sand. I'm just going to blur it completely and have my professional life is such a big part of my personal life as well. I mean, I go to my wife and I talk about cybersecurity, right? She's not interested at all. Yeah. But it's just such a big part of me. And I think these lines are blurring a lot. But I don't think we can go to people and say to them, like, you need to do the same thing too. Yeah. So I guess my point there is let those people be them, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah. Like, that is their prerogative. Yeah. I don't look down upon them or anything like that. But then there's going to be the people that are going to be on your team that want to do the same thing. And then allow them to shine. Allow them to do that for the organization. It's only going to make the organization prosper. And allow them to have their voice on things that are going on in their world. That may be hard for a lot of business owners to do because they're giving up that control of messaging and everything. But I think their unique insights on your business or their role within your business or their field in general is going to provide dividends in the long run for your organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, this was probably my favorite thing to talk about because a lot of times for me, what I find is if I love a business, I appreciate how it's run, I understand it fully, but there's the X factor of I really like the business. And I feel like that X factor is always kind of attributed to the culture in some way because it attributes to the whole health of the organization. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's very important, and I'm happy that you took time to explain it a little better to everyone. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for doing this with me. I'm excited for other topics to come up. I'm more than welcome to do this again. So this was part 3. Kevin Vitale interviewing me, Anthony DeGraw, on the Discussions by Domain podcast. Let us know what you think. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter. You can check us out on our website as well, go-domain.com/podcast. You'll see write-ups of this material. You'll see the audio. You'll even see the video on there as well. So let us know what you think. We really want your feedback. And if there's topics for the future you want him to talk to me about, because you got some value out of this, we can do a deeper dive at any time. Once again, thank you guys. To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device. To help us get the word out, share with a friend, leave a review, and check out our discussions on the web at go-domain.com/podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.